Well, hello again, everybody. My name is John D. Healy. I do a podcast. It's called It's Good to Talk. Some people know me because I produced this book for my friend Stoney McGurn. It's called, and that's how it all started. You can buy it on Amazon. It's about his life story. He was born 1941, all the way up. Stories, real true stories, lots of history, lots of interest and stuff, civil rights and all that, and a lot of fun and frolics along the way of his life. He's still alive and doing well. People often ask me that. Yeah, he was 1941, so he's running around, dancing. And by the way, my guest today is going to be talking about singing. Stoney thinks he can sing. But you know what? Sing a song. It doesn't hurt. My sponsors are Liffey Van Lines. They're a moving company here in New York City. And they have been around longer than the New York City Marathon. They're running very, very, very smoothly. No doors fall off. No windows fall out. When it comes to moving, let Liffey do the lifting. I always give a shout out to my good friend, Paddy McCarthy from the Irish Examiner USA.com. You can get that paper online. A great newspaper if you want to keep up to music and the arts and all that. Paddy himself played in the band. He also was a manager of a lot of big bands, big names. And my guest today might know some of those bands. But now we're going to have a little bit of fun. And my guest today is Brittany. That's her name.
Hi.
Hi. But she does have a stage name. So Brittany, tell us a little bit about you, where you were born, and you're a singer and a songwriter. Okay, tell us about you.
Yeah, I was born in New York, Queens, born and raised. And my stage name is Melga, which is my Hebrew name. And I've always loved singing since I was 5. I would be at family gatherings, pretty much hamming it up, singing and singing and singing. And I just never stopped.
So what age were you again? Very young.
5 when I started.
That's a coincidence because some of the music people I've had on my It's Good Talk podcast, Alex is from Bulgaria. She was 5 years old when she learned how to play the piano. She has
Wow.
a twin sister, obviously, who was also 5 when she learned how to play the piano. They both play piano professionally, and I don't know if they played on the same piano or not. Now that would be interesting. That's like me. That's like me doing a tandem parachute jump. I could just sit there and do nothing and let Alex do all the music. That's just a slight comparison, which is very professional. And she's here in Manhattan, and tune into her podcast, and she'll explain more about her 5-year-old experience of learning the piano. And I'm glad she doesn't live on the floor above me because that might keep me awake all night when she's practicing. But I do love her dearly. Big shout out to Alex there. I've other people on too. Charlie McGettigan won the Eurovision Song Contest in 1994 with a song called Rock and Roll Kids. That podcast is interesting because he explains about, say, someone like yourself, very young, how to get into song contests, and why it's important to compete. You have to love the singing, of course, and all that. And the other one,
Absolutely.
Mildred Byrne, is also on my podcast, and she was in an all-girls band in I think, the late 1950s. Can you imagine an all-girls band in Ireland? My
Wow.
God.
That's insane.
It's kind of insane, but Mildred is still going strong too. She's a journalist on a radio station called Midwest Radio, and she teaches kids how to play the tin whistle. Actually, in one of my establishments, she was able to get herself into the Guinness Book of Records. But that's enough about Mildred, enough about me. And back to you, Malka. Tell us more about your singing.
Well, so like I said, I started really young. And, it wasn't until I was maybe 14 where I started finding my voice. Because there's a certain time where you have your inspirations and you're like, okay, who am I as an artist? What do I want to do? And I had a dear friend of mine tell me I sounded like Amy Winehouse. And that was a huge, whoa moment for me. Because I realized, actually, I didn't know who Amy Winehouse was at the time, which is terrible on my part. But I learned everything I could about her. And through her music, I really connected to her message, to her as a person. And that's when I started finding the artists that I looked up to. And then it wasn't until I write poetry. So I didn't realize that I could take my poetry and make it into music. That was another huge whoa moment in my life.
Well, you wouldn't be the first poet to have poem transformed into a song. Like I did podcasts here about Irish poets, and one of my, I wouldn't say favorite poets, but I have to give him credit. You know, it's nice to be cynical sometimes. Like Patrick Kavanagh is from Monaghan. Most of his poetry is very, very dark and dreary and, oh my God, depressing. Anyways, his girlfriend at the time, he was maybe in his early 20s, she dumped him. They were dating in Dublin. And back then, a lot of innocent girls like yourself, well, you're not that innocent, thought that if someone was a poet like me, that we were rich and wealthy and intelligent. Well, okay, the intelligence maybe. Money, no. No, no, there's no money in poetry. So when this girlfriend of Patrick Kavanagh dumped him on Raglan Road, which is a street in Dublin, or a road in Dublin, he did the best he could. I don't mean getting over the relationship, but he wrote a poem about the breakup.
Mm-hmm.
It was all about the breakup. But Patrick Kavanagh, unlike you, Patrick Kavanagh couldn't sing. So he gave the song to Luke Kelly of the Dubliners, and the song became a huge hit. I
Wow.
mean, it took a voice to match the poem.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have both, obviously. You have the poetry, you have the voice, you play an instrument, I assume. So let's
Yes,
talk
guitar.
about, okay, talk about you.
Well, obviously starting out with Amy, going into, it's interesting because people will sort of say, okay, well, pop music, right? Oh, it's just, top 40, whatever, whatever. I actually find a lot of inspiration in artists like Ariana Grande, Miley Cyrus, and these artists that you wouldn't think you could look up to because you think people are writing for them and everything, but actually they're producers, they're writers. They know their shit, and it's so sonically impressive. Their voice and their range
Mm,
really impresses me, especially live performances. But then you go back to, sort of like India's artists that started out on the scene. I mean, Billie Eilish started, she wasn't a big superstar. And when she was 14, she blew up with Ocean Eyes. And her melodic voice and that minimalistic, sort of kind of like, sonic and just beautiful. That really inspired me too.
right.
Lyrics inspire me. Melody inspires me. And artists you wouldn't think that have all of those things coming out, especially younger artists and
Mm,
especially female artists, because
okay.
female artists are looked upon like they don't know anything and they're just, they're in the
I,
scene.
I don't agree with that sentiment at all. I'm a huge fan of a lot of female singers. So, for the purpose of entertaining our listeners today, podcast is called It's Good to Talk, and my guest is singer-songwriter Brittany, also known as Malka. So here I'm going to we'll do a little quiz, right? I'm going to name female singers, and you can say, yay, I know them, or no, I don't know them. So let's start with Patsy Cline, okay? Yay
Yeah,
or nay? You know Patsy Cline.
I do.
Song Walking After Midnight. Actually, Willie Nelson wrote a song for Patsy Cline. We'll move along. Let me see who else you might know. Everyone knows Dolly Parton. Hello?
Of course. Queen.
The Queen is right. Sometimes we call her the Queen of Dairy, but that's a little funny, sarcastic, tongue in cheek joke. But she writes poetry, and she's very generous and kind, and she likes to write stories for children. She has a huge heart, very generous to the world and herself. I could say the same for Bono, but we're here on female singers. So let me see, did I make a note of someone else worthy of? Well, Dolores Kane. Dolores Kane is from Galway in Ireland. Have you heard of her?
I have not.
Okay. Well, a song that made Dolores Kane famous is called Caledonia. Beautiful song, and you should look it up, and you could do a good number on it. Caledonia is the Latin word for Scotland, and the guy that wrote it, he was homesick in France on a vacation, and he was missing Caledonia. Of course, as you know, with poetry, your audience, your listeners, interpret a word. So Caledonia could mean the name of a girl or the name of a guy. but he's
Mhm.
missed Caledonia. He wants to return back, and that's what gave him the inspiration for that. How about an American one, Nancy Griffith?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good. Okay, of course. Seems like the ones you know, you really, really know, and the ones you don't know, you never
I just
even.
don't know.
What about? Okay, two more for you, and then we'll move on.
Okay.
Whitney Houston.
Oh, yes, of course.
Of course.
Yes, of
All right.
course.
And her song was The Greatest Love of All.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
That's
Whitney
one.
Houston, man, her voice just soars.
Oh, her voice, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, let's go all the way up to Canada. We'll go like north.
Okay.
Anne Murray.
Mm-mm.
No, you don't
Nope.
know Anne Murray. Anne Murray is a famous Canadian singer, songwriter, and one of her songs is "A Little Good News." She's worth having a check out too. And finally, another lady that sings in different languages, in French and English, Petula Clark.
I do not know her.
Okay, Petula Clark. Well, you'll probably know this song. Petula Clark is one of these female singers that's very uplifting. If someone is feeling a little down in the day, Petula Clark will say to you, when you're lonely, when you're sad and all that, go downtown. She means get out and go in the city and you will get uplifted. So it's a very uplifting song. That's Petula Clark. I saw her live in concert in Dublin. She's still alive, by the way. So I didn't give you any, well, I give you a few dead ones there. Anyways,
Oh no.
it's good to talk. My guest is Brittany, also known as Malka, her stage name. So what other inspirations do you have? Like, the poetry, the poetry comes first, I assume, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then you have the poem there. You put together some sentences and something has to inspire the poem. Something gives you a thought in your head. You scribble it down on the back of a, I was going to say the back of a pack of cigarettes. Like,
Well, I don't smoke, but that would
okay,
actually be kind of hardcore.
it would be very hardcore. But it has happened. Songs have been written, open the pack of cigarettes and take out the back and write it down. But that's a long time ago. God, I'm giving my age away here. Then again, I was born in a dance hall, a ballroom in the late '50s, so that's another story. But one more question in the muse world. Do you still do like sound check, like check 1 2, check 1 2?
Oh, well, so a lot of when you go and perform, they have a sound guy or a sound girl that kind of takes care of that. Of course, before if you're performing like your own performance, yeah, you want to make sure you have everything set up, everything sounds mixed, and the person in the back can hear it, the person in the front can hear it, the guitar or whatever instrument you're using, and your voice sync well together.
Okay, so that girl or guy, as you call him, a sound girl or a sound guy, I know people like that too. But they're engineers basically. They're sound engineers, so they have to make sure you sound equally good on every corner of the bar and all that. My
Absolutely.
my eldest brother is Pat Healy, and he ran the old ballroom for a number of years too. And my parents passed it on to him, and he ended up being deaf as a result of bands that didn't have the sound engineer.
Hmm.
If they thought they weren't getting across to their audience, they would keep turning the volume up and up and up and up.
Right.
I was hitting off the back wall, and my brother Pat,
Oof.
he became deaf. He's not too bad.
Oh.
I think he has selective hearing. He hears what he wants to hear, and when he doesn't want to hear, he considers it bullshit. I agree with him on that one. Now, back to you again. You play the guitar. Anything else you play?
I play a little bit of piano. It's interesting because depending on the song, I either start on piano or I start on guitar. Guitar comes very easily to me, piano not as much. So it's kind of starting with chords, right? But for me personally, once I write lyrics, it's almost like I immediately know the melody.
That's
So I write the lyrics and then all of a sudden I'm recording a melody. And
okay.
I mean, some songs I've written in like 2 minutes.
Okay, that's a talent. That's a
Thank
that's
you.
a great talent. You're really lucky to have that. That's a gift. That's like an artist that can make a sketch in a few minutes, or another artist that could take them a week. And like I did have Nick Hubbard on here talking about a golf caddy, and we talked about writer's cramp,
Mm.
golfer's elbow, and things that happen. Like, do you ever get like a mental block where you are like three verses in, and then you're like, oh shit, I can't come up with the last verse.
That's
That
an
happen?
interesting question. I mean, poetry I've been writing since I was 5, so poetry is something that is kind of in my bones. It's in my blood.
Mm,
I don't necessarily have a block. I would say the only poem actually recently that I had difficulty with, it took me 2 hours.
oh,
Normally poems take me between 30 seconds and 5 minutes. That's
that's
usually my
that's great.
go-to. And to answer your question before, like the inspiration, I mean, it comes from various different things: life, depression, anxiety, trauma, or just going through transitions in your life. It could be positive, it could be negative. It could.
Mm,
What I like to do is have like a progression of maybe negative to positive, or positive to negative, or introspective in some way.
great.
Love, heartbreak,
Mm,
all of the above.
mm,
Or maybe some, you know, information or thoughts about
okay,
the world or nature, right?
nice.
And then you take that and you say, okay, I take out my recorder, or I'll set it the USB mic up to my computer,
Okay,
and whether I have a beat already set or I'm coming in with no beat,
so
I
it's
just
it's like all kinds of everything. All kinds of everything was the name of a song. It was the first song that represented Ireland, I think, in 1969. It was sung by a singer called, her name was Dana, and she went on highly. She was the first girl, female in Ireland, to win the song.
Mhm.
And All Kinds of Everything was a very simple song. It kind of went something like, All Kinds of Everything reminds me of you. So she talks about like flowers and daffodils, the seas and sun, like springtime, summertime, wintertime, and everything reminded her of some fantasy lover in her mind, or it
right.
could have been it could have been her mother too, or it could have been her father. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be like a love, sexual
It's
love.
all up to interpretation too.
Yeah, it could be a platonic love. Yeah. So if you you wake up every morning, of course, and you rub your eyes and you go out, and the sunshine is beautiful in the sky, and
Mhm.
maybe see kids playing in a schoolyard. That could be an inspiration.
Absolutely. A
Mm,
lot of times I'll go in nature and just see what all is going on around me.
okay.
Usually I take nature and I will use it as inspiration
Mm,
to include something else, whether that be feeling, a situation, a person, and take both and combine them.
right. That's interesting. Well, I know we make it sound so easy, both you and I, Brittany and myself. Um, you couldn't just go out and, for example, see a dog taking a shit and write a poem about it, and then turn it into a song.
I
And that's
mean, no. Okay, well, that's not exactly true. Okay, so when I was 11, I wrote a poem called Ode to Toilet Paper.
okay.
I don't remember, but I wrote it on a paper napkin. So, if you're silly enough with it.
All right. Well, I like your personality. That's good, and you're very honest at explaining it. Because all I know about toilet paper is it reminds me of my life. The nearer it comes to the end, the faster it seems to go away. So that's the problem with getting old. You should write a song about old people. And you could just rhyme it like, you're not old, you're not cold, you're just getting old.
Well,
Something
so
like that.
a lot of, songs or poetry don't rhyme. In fact, sometimes it's if you're trying to rhyme, it takes away from the meaning, because
Okay,
then you're focusing on the rhyme. If it comes naturally, then that's fine, but you want to make it impactful. You want to write a good piece of work or a great piece of work. And to
but
force yourself to rhyme can just take away from the magic of it.
okay. Well, my last guest was on here. His name was Dahi, and we were speaking bilingual, like Irish language and English language. And we kind of touched somewhat on what you said there about different words can have different meanings. Say in Irish, I said gohintach, which means excellent. And he said, no, it means wonderful. Well, excellent and wonderful to me are very similar. They're similar. The sentiment is similar. So if I agree with you on that. You could, you don't have to say I feel fine on wine because it rhymes. You could say I feel fine with something else. I know people that drink wine are classy.
I feel fine because I drink wine. I mean, that could be on a T-shirt, right?
It could be on a T-shirt, yeah. I like captions and all that too. So, and branding is important to me. Tom Sanchez from United Print Group was on my podcast too, and we did a lot of talk about branding. And it's like when I say let Liffey do the lifting. It's where that the company can get their slogan rhyming with like Liffey lifting, so it relates to the service, and it
Absolutely. It's
helps the
catchy. Needs to be catchy.
It needs to be catchy. Yeah, catchy is a good word. Okay, I was going to ask you another question there, but I won't do that because it's too personal. You look like a good catch, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
So you play solo gigs, or you join a band, or you want to join
Mm.
a band, or
So I solo
you solo?
primarily, just
Okay.
because it's me and my music. I don't focus on anything else. Um, it's just me, and it's my home, right?
Okay.
It feels very personal, but at the same time, I have been in situations where I've been lucky enough to sing with the band.
Okay.
And that's a completely different experience because you get to be more creative. You get to, kind of groove with them. And then things come out of you or like a voice that you didn't even realize you had. And that's pretty neat too.
Okay.
But generally, when I perform, like, it's just me.
Okay.
It just
Like
feels
some of my
better.
other going from the female singers to the male singers. Some of my favorite male singers, like Christy Moore, is a famous Irish folk singer, and he is able to command a crowd of maybe 5,000, 6,000, 7,000,
Mhm.
and you would hear a pin drop, when he's performing. So that's a talent in itself to grab the attention of an audience. Is that something you have, or you're working on, or you need let me figure that one out?
That's an interesting question. Um, you know, to be blunt, I don't really care.
Okay.
If I do capture and I do connect, that's a really special thing.
Okay.
But I just want to sing. I just want to play. And if people connect, they connect. If they don't, they don't. I've played for
Mm,
0 people. I've played for 1, 2. I've played for 20, 100. Like, for me, yes, connection to an audience, I'm not going to downplay the importance of that. Obviously, I want to connect. As a musician, as an artist, you want to connect, right? But when it comes down to it, okay, I don't care is kind of a little harsh word, but there's a balance to it. If you go in and you're trying to force a connection with the audience, it doesn't happen. But if you go in and you're just trying to lay your art on the stage, then it usually does. I
okay.
find myself when I perform, I feel like I do have a connection with the audience personally.
Okay, that's good. That's interesting. I remember years and years ago when I was very, very young, I had to do public speaking, and I was giving a talk at a high school, and they were getting ready for their big exam. And I know I came in to speak. It was after their lunch hour, boys and girls, and the boys were boisterous and loud. And I said, "Fuck, how am I going to get their attention?" So what I did was I basically said, "I'm just going to be here for half an hour. I want to give you some thoughts, and the thoughts and the inspiration I will give you is going to be more valuable for you guys that might fail the exam. The
Mm.
smart guys, you don't need to listen at all, and they all start to listen because the dumb, you gotta respect the dumb and ignorant. They woke up and said, we should hear this, so it might
Mm.
help us pass our exams. So everyone has their own technique in grabbing the attention. For a musician, no, I'm tend to agree with you. Do you give like a story before you sing the song?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I try to interact. Like, I'm a talkative person. I'm very social and
Well, it's
extroverted.
good to talk.
So, I generally sometimes talk in between and just like not necessarily a story. If I feel, yeah, maybe, but generally I'm just like, hey, audience, what's up? Or just say something. It just comes in my brain. I'm just like, yeah, or
That's not bad.
some anecdote
Or
of the
you're
day.
like you're going to sing a song about an incident that happened, and you say, "I remember the night I wrote this song. I had too many drinks. I fell on my ass. I woke up. I woke.
Yeah,
You
that
get
would be something I would say. If it's about it like a, I guess, sad or like a more introspective situation, like I would just let the song speak for itself, and you
okay.
don't kind of have to say like what it's about necessarily. But yeah, oh, absolutely. If I wrote a song where I fell on my ass, I would definitely say that to an audience.
Well, that's something that I might be able to relate to. Of course,
Oh yeah.
my guest today is Brittany, also known as Malky, her stage name. She's a singer-songwriter here from New York City, Queens, I think. And it's good to talk. It's the podcast. If you like it, hit subscribe. Costs nothing to join my podcast. Lots of other music people on my podcast. Ernie Savage is here in New York. He writes jingles, which take about 20 seconds. And he's a jingle guy, jingle jangle. He also plays guitar and plays piano. Ernie Savage. He's been on my podcast a few times. And he's also a songwriter. And he doesn't like to be called Dude. He actually wrote a song why he shouldn't be called Dude, which is kind of a funny song as well. And other singers, John Malone is a regular in the neighborhood here in New York. He does a lot of cover songs. So
Mm.
it's all different types of tastes, I guess, in music. There's something there for everyone, I think. Like the folk singing, I guess you would call your music more folk, I guess.
I would say, yeah, indie pop, folk, or pop.
Okay.
I don't know. Honestly, I've thought about indie pop. I've thought about pop, like folk. I just kind of go with the flow. I'm like, I
Mm.
just do what I sing. Like, yeah.
But it's not like total country and western.
Okay, no. I'm
Okay.
more like in, for some reason, sometimes I'll be like, I want to sing R&B. Sometimes I'll sing Love on Top by Beyonce or some
Okay.
such thing. Or, I'll sing a pop song or I'll go
Mm.
more folky. Sometimes I'll sing old school. I'll, for some reason, end up singing Bon Jovi or Frank Sinatra all of a sudden.
ABBA, maybe.
Yeah,
ABBA.
but yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I wanted to learn a Fleetwood Mac song next, so like I kind of just take inspiration from different artists and
You mean like a song like called "Go Your Own Way"?
yeah,
That's a Fleetwood
or
Mac song.
Dreams. I want to learn Dreams.
Okay. And what about Cat Stevens?
I do not know who that is.
Oh my God. Okay, I'll pretend. I'll pretend I didn't hear that. Okay.
I'm
All right.
sorry.
Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. Okay, getting back more to the lyrics of songs. Like I'm okay with country and western because I'm a bit of a redneck. But like some of the lyrics in some of the country western can be very, very like dreary. They're true.
Hmm.
If you're singing a song about divorce, and the singer, female singer, I can't think of her name. She spells like Divorce. But fucking hell, that would put you off getting married in the first place. So you'd rather the song. Another country and western singer wrote a song called "Sleeping Single in a Double Bed." Well, I'd rather sleep single in a double bed than to have the bitch beside me that's going to be singing divorce. Because that's not
Hmm.
going to be a good marriage. Okay, going back to lyrics and poetry and songs. And you did mention the highs and lows of like love, romance songs. Like a lot of love songs are out there, of course. A
Hmm.
lot of war songs are out there too. Like,
Absolutely.
absolutely. So, like what I always say about love and war, easy to start and hard to end, unfortunately. Like
Mm.
a lot of Irish songs that go into the traditional music because the English invaded us and all that and took away our language. And my first language is Gaelic, of course. And a lot of songs in Gaelic, in the Irish language, are very, very romantic and interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move along. So let's talk something about the gigs and where we can hear you, find you, and get to listen to more of you. Apart from on this podcast, it's good to talk.
Oh. Well, I'm getting back into playing places. You saw me at Donovan's.
Right.
Irish pub. It was in Woodside, right? It's in Woodside.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to go back there. That was really cool. Honestly, because I moved back to New York 2 years ago, right? Because
Where were you?
I was in North Carolina for some
Okay.
reason.
For some reason. All right.
So, I came back, COVID was still a thing, and, I had a music group, I had places I was playing, in North Carolina,
Right.
and I'm in the midst of finding the music scene again. I mean, I'm online. I had the project I had with one producer during COVID called Direct Use.
Oh, you sent me that song. Yeah.
I did. Direct Use had Over and Over Again. I Need You Right Now. That was really fun. Taking it back to sort of a youthful perspective. Kind of teenager-esque. So that was kind of interesting.
It is,
So I
yeah.
have that online, and I really would like
I'll
to.
set that song up later on when we finish.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
if you
My
want to
bad.
sing
I was
something,
just
if you
talking
want to
about.
sing, that's fine. If you want to sing something in the meantime, you totally can. And I'm impressed by the way you say you were in North Carolina and you came back, and you used a phrase there about looking for yourself. So I think most people are always looking for themselves. Sometimes we never find ourselves, but that's
Yeah,
the whole ups and downs and roller coaster of life. Is looking.
absolutely. I mean, I didn't play my guitar for over a year, to be honest, because life got in the way and really kind of difficult times the last year or so. And that sucked
Of course.
because I wasn't connected to my music. I wasn't singing as much. I was focusing on very specific things that caused me to disconnect from writing and singing. And when you have it in your heart and not doing it, it's almost like you lose
Oh,
a part of you, you know?
you made an impression on me. Obviously, when I heard you singing in Donovan's and Woodside, people now are going to be following me around, see what bars I hang out in.
I'm
Find
sorry. I
talent.
totally gave you away.
You gave me away. Don't worry. I'm used to being given away. And when people find me, they'll leave me back again. Don't worry about it. That's easy. That's part of my life. But I didn't get to talk about Bono. Bono is still trying to find what he's looking for. Bono, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Because Bono thinks he's God, and I think Bono is God too. Because I'm a big fan of Bono. Not everyone likes Bono, but I like Bono. But that's we all have our tastes. You say tomato, I say tomato. Whatever. But I'm very impressed with you. I think you have a great future. I would
Thank
say
you,
keep up
John.
the writing, keep up the poetry, because the poetry will inspire the music and the singing. And
100%.
100% is right. And always give 100%, unless you're donating blood. Okay, don't give 100%. So, Brittany, I think we'll wrap it up soon before we start writing poetry here and telling more stories. We could write comedy.
We probably could.
We It's not probably, it's most definitely could. And there's lots of material for comedy these days. Like, let's talk about when you're on stage. You have a certain dress code that you wear. Would you wear gold sneakers?
Oh, that would be awesome.
God.
Okay, well, it depends with what outfit. I love fashion, so I'm always down to try
Oh,
something different and like put an outfit together. 100%.
oh, you are definitely a girl, that's for sure.
Oh,
Anyways,
I am a girl. Yes,
I,
I mean, by biology. Yes, I could say that confidently. I am a girl.
I wouldn't. I certainly wouldn't be seen dead in gold sneakers, even if they were painted gold. Anyways, I'm not a sneaker person anyway. If you want to put up your information where people can reach out to you if they want to book you for a gig, like for an evening's event or something like that, put up your email on the screen, and we'll put it up for you as well.
Okay.
And how you can be contacted. And have you any gigs coming up in March? Is March busy for you? March, April?
Like I said, I'm trying to find my scene. I'm trying to get
Okay.
back into it. So, I mean, Donovan's is a great place. I love the people there. I think they're very attentive about
Okay.
listening to the artists. And yeah, I definitely want to go back there. And
Okay.
in the meantime, I'd love
Well,
to play more gigs.
okay. Well, please keep in contact with me, and I will refer other venues for you, as long as they serve Guinness. If they serve wine, okay, I could
I
switch it
love
up.
wine. I love beer. I love wine. I'm all for it.
Well, I'm sure you'd feel fine on wine. That's
Yes, we put it on the T-shirt. You'll make $1 million, me and you, John. Yes.
oh, I love you more. That's like a title to a song. I love you more. But wine is how classy people get drunk, and Guinness.
Well, if it's you don't. Okay, I'm a red girl. I love Italian food. I love red wine. Having a bowl of pasta, that's my jam.
Hey,
But I also love beer.
hey, well, maybe we'll have a beer sometime.
Oh
You know,
yes,
I don't
100%.
I don't do expensive dates, but beer is good. Um, you
Oh,
know,
I agree.
I agree.
Especially Donovan's, they have the big 20-ounce beers, and I'm
Okay.
completely down for that.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll talk about that.
Okay,
Uh,
all right,
at a
we got
future
you.
date. All right. Okay. I usually sign off in my native Irish language. Okay. So I'm going to teach you a few words today. Okay, in Gaelic. Well, not just you, my listeners, of course. Like last week, I had Dahian. He's a professional bilingual teacher. He's in Woodside as well. So the name for Woodside in Irish is called Tí na Culture. Tí means beside, and culture means wood. So Woodside is Tí na Culture. Now, do you know the Gaelic for Sunnyside?
Mm-mm.
No, okay. Well, it's just one word again. Tí means beside. So Sunnyside, the sun, means Tí na Graine, like beside the sun. Actually, it sounds more romantic than
It
Sunnyside.
really does. And
No,
Sunny.
yeah, I mean it's not too shabby of a place. No reflection on the people that live there. Of course, I have nephews out there, and they're pretty cool. On 4 or 5, that means very cold. So, other words we could say in poetry is something like a scale is a story. Scale is a story. Changa means a tongue, but tongue could also mean language. So, ganchanga means a country without its language is not a country. Ganchir, Ganchanga, cheer is country. And then if I say K Wiltu, means how are you doing? How are you? K Wiltu. And if you
Okay,
say
will do.
K Hey Wiltu, yeah, you got the
Okay,
connection.
will do.
There you go. And then if I answer back and if I say I am good, Tamegomai. If I say I'm sad, I say Tob Broner, I might feel bad. Or if I say I'm excellent, Tamegahinta. And you could say Gahinta, that means wonderful. Now I'm going to say goodbye to you. I'll scale you. So I'm going to say Slán.
Salon?
Slán, yeah. You got it,
Salon.
Slán. I'm going to say Slán. And then if I say Slán Gafol, it means goodbye until we meet again. That's kind of nice, isn't it? Yeah, it's nice, like kind of romantic. So Slán Gafol, that means goodbye. Malka, until
Goodbye.
we meet again. Slán. Great talking to you.
Well,
Slán.
it was great talking to you. Thank you for having me, John.